Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Elmira Handayani, and now I will explain the material of the young language learner. Okay, who is the young learner? It means that pupils are between 5 and 10 or 11 years old, and we have divided into two main groups. The first one is 5 to 7 years old, and the second is 8 to 10 years old. Okay, let's gonna talk about the 5 to 7 years old and what 5 to 7 years old can do at their own level. Okay, the first is they can talk what they are doing. They can tell you about what they have done or heard, and they can plan activities. They can argue for something and tell you why they think and what they think, and they can use logical reasoning. And other characteristic of the young language learner is the first is understanding. It includes of rules, situations, hands, eyes, and ears, and it means that they know that the world is governed by the rules, and they understand the situations more quickly than they understand the language used. And their own understanding comes through hands and eyes and ears. Next is the young children sometimes have difficulties in knowing what is fact and what is fiction. And then the young children are enthusiastic and positive about learning, and they love to play, and they cannot decide for themselves what to learn. Next is what this means for our teaching. The first is words are not enough. It means that don't rely on the spoken word only. Most activities for the young children should include of movement and involve the sense. And the second is play the language. It means that let the pupils to talk to themselves, and like make rhymes, songs, sing songs, or telling stories. The third is language as a language, and the fourth is variety in the classroom, like variety activities, pace, organization, and voice. And the fifth is routines, and the sixth is cooperation, not competitions, and then grammar, and the last is assessment. The next material is class management and atmosphere. So what is an ideal teacher? As a teacher of young children, you have sense of humor and open-minded, adaptable, and patient. But even if you are the silent preserve type, you can work with your abilities and attitudes. So next is helping the children to feel secure. There are some things which will help to create a secure class atmosphere. The first is know what you are doing, because the pupils need to know what is happening, and then respect your pupils. And then whenever the pupils are trying to say something, to tell you something, accept whatever they say, mistakes as well, and then give the children the responsibility for doing practical jobs in the classroom. And next is avoid um, avoid organize avoid organize competition. And the last is avoid giving physical reward and prize. Next is the physical surroundings. If possible, put as much on the wall as you can, like calendars, postcards, the picture of animals, plants, or any kind of interesting object. Next is grouping the children. In this session, you can use the cooperation method. And next is pay work. Pay work is very useful and efficient way to teaching language. For example, you can let the pupils who are sitting near each other. Next is group work. You can introducing group work to organize your class. The next material is listening. Listening is the first thing the children learn, especially when they cannot read yet. And next is listen and do activities. What the listen and do activities? The first is instructions, and then moving about. Next, put up your hand, mean stories, and drawing. Next is listening for informations. You can do identifying exercise, listen and color, and listen for mistakes. Next material is oral work. The general comments of oral work. The first is limitations. The second is we don't know what they want to say, and the third is finding the balance, and the last is correction. Next material is reading. There are some ways to introduce of reading. The first is phonics. This is based on letters and sounds, and the second is look and say. This is based on words and phrases, and we can use the flashcard. And the third is whole sentence reading. Um, this is like we give the sentence to the pupils and which have meaning themselves. The last approach is language experience approach. This is based on the child spoken language. We're gonna move to writing. Writing is not always easy because we cannot make the same use like body language, intonations, eye contact, and so on. But writing is good thing because through writing it lets the pupils to express their personalities. Okay, to control writing activities, we can do strike copying and matching. In matching, it's like we ask our pupils to match between the pictures and text. The next material is topic-based work. Why do topic-based work? Because it is useful, helpful. Like when you are concentrating on a particular topic, the content of the lessons automatically becomes more important than the language itself. This means that it can be more easier to relate the lessons to the experience and interesting of your pupils. And how to sort about it? The first one we can do choosing your topic. Usually teacher decide which topic to work on. For example, if we choose food, then we deliver about food. Next is planning time. In planning time, for one lesson at the first meeting, usually use 35 minutes. And the third is collecting the material. It's about like written or spoken text or songs and flashcard and so on. And then we see the functions and situations. And next is we use some methods and activities. And the last is assessment. The next material is planning your work. And there are some reasons why good teachers plan their work. The first is it makes life much easier for you in the classroom, and the second is it saves time, and the third is you know what you will need for each lesson, and the fourth is you can more easily to see how to balance your lesson, and then it gives you secure and confidence which is passed on the pupils. And when to plan, we can divide planning into 3 stages. The first is long-term planning. It may be for the whole term, it's like curriculum. And the second is short-term planning. It's like syllabus, and then these periods until for 6 months. And the last is lesson planning. This means we make our plan before we teaching. And how did it go? We as a teacher cannot feel enough after we teach the pupils. So we can make a quick checklist, like we can make a question for ourselves, like did the organization work? Did they like the subject matter? Did I do this part of the lesson? And did the pupils understand the teaching point? Did they learn what they were supposed to learn? Like that. And what to do when things go wrong? There are several types of things can go wrong. The first is the external disturbance. It's like For example, when the fire engine passing the window, uh, it's get the attentions of our pupils, so we as a teacher can um, can can change that to the positive activities, like we can say, oh, look at all those the fire engines. Nah, so in this case, we teach a new vocabulary to our pupils, and then we go back to the our plan quickly as we can. And next is an internal disturbance. This is comes from one or two of the class or our class. Perhaps one of the pupils, uh, pu- one of the pupils start like fighting. The next thing can go wrong is the class is out of control, and then an activity is taking too long, and then you have extra time, like when your time left over, but your material is still long. Then you have to think what to deal with. And the next is an activity doesn't work, and 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 then an activity is too difficult, like that. Okay, the last material is using media to teach EYL. Why? Because a lesson will be much easier and more interesting for children. And in making material for us as a teacher and our pupils, we can use card games, board games, sentence cards, word display, and books or reading cards. And next point is materials to buy. It's related to readers, displaying the books, coding, paper dolls, and then we can use wall charts, toys, maps, building blocks. And the last is materials for to collect, and there are several things that can be used in making materials, like making puppets, decorating pictures or boxes, going shopping, acting, counting, telling stories, and so on. Okay, thank you for your attention. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.